Welcome to the Daily TV Mass Online Advent Retreat with Cardinal Thomas Collins. Monday, third week of Advent. Advent and the gift of time.
Advent is the liturgical season most attuned to the context of time. In Advent, we look back into the past to meditate on the prophecies foreshadowing the coming of the Messiah at the turning point of history, which we celebrate at Christmas, and for which we prepare through Advent. For Christians, however, the coming of Christ is not primarily a past event, which continues only in memory. The actions of Christ in the past, his birth, teaching, miracles, suffering, death, and resurrection, shape our life in the present. Advent is also oriented towards the future, towards the personal advent of Christ at the moment of our death, which shapes how we live each present moment, and towards the cosmic advent at the end of time, which allows us to relativize the pretensions of the empires, civilizations, and cultures of the current age, which shrink into insignificance in light of the coming of the Lord of glory. The city of God is eternal. The city of man is passing away. We are citizens of the New Jerusalem, temporarily passing through Babylon. We are attentive to both past and future, so that we might live rightly in the present. We live on the knife edge of the present moment, leaving the past behind and racing into the future. Time is a gift from God, a gift that we usually take for granted, especially if we are under the illusion that we have an unending supply of it on earth. The experience of the death of people whom we know can help us to realize the value and the limits of time. Growing old can help us to treasure the gift of time, although this does not always happen. Memento mori, consciousness of the inevitability of our own death, is a powerful factor in leading us to cherish and to use well the limited time we have. The liturgy of Ash Wednesday gives each of us a salutary shock. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. We can see time as a succession of passing, disconnected moments as we see them on a digital clock. Those autonomous moments are disintegrated, not integrated into a consistent whole. And so can we be as well. But we can also think of time as an analog reality. This present moment gains its meaning and context because of its relationship to where I have been and to where I am going. This is a more humane way of experiencing time and leads to a more fruitful experience of life. The season of Advent helps us to have an integrated, analog experience of time, one with meaning, where we situate ourselves in relationship to the coming of the Lord and do not simply advance mindlessly through endless disconnected moments. That integrated consciousness of time is essential for a life that has meaning and purpose. The regular pattern of the liturgical seasons highlights the action of God in human history and in our personal histories, all seen as elements in the consistent whole of God's plan. This allows us to be fully alive and not simply to drift until suddenly time is up. Kronos is simple quantitative time, which can be measured by a clock. Quantitative time is an inescapable fact. We have a limited supply of it. And sooner or later, and perhaps sooner than we think, and without warning, we will run out of it. Jesus tells us of the wealthy man who built bigger and bigger barns to store his grain and goods. He said, I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, This night your soul is required of you. The more we are conscious of the personal experience of the coming of the Lord that is death, the more fully and intentionally we will live. As the psalmist says, teach me the shortness of life, that I may gain wisdom of heart. Or as Samuel Johnson bluntly put it, when a man knows that he will be hanged in a couple of weeks, it concentrates the mind wonderfully. So the simple fact of the limited quantity of time, if we will only realize that, can enrich our use of the time we do have. Advent, with its emphasis on the shortness of time before the Lord comes, can help us to do that. Kairos is significant time, time filled with rich experience, qualitative time, time with a direction and purpose, time that is significant because of the way in which it is in the field of divine and human activity and relationships. With this in mind, we often speak of Kairos as quality time, time during which we are attentive to the ones we love. Advent leads us to experience qualitative time, time with a purpose, as we contemplate the entry of God into time in the past and His coming in the future. We have so little time, and so often it is wasted. Advent helps us to experience time within a context that allows us to see its significance and to live accordingly. We find meaning and direction by situating the present moment in relationship to the coming of Christ in the past and to the coming of Christ in the future. In a disintegrated digital world of lonely autonomy, we are Advent Christians, living purposeful and fruitful lives, situated within the context of the plan of God.
Join us tomorrow for the O Antiphons.